I am happy to welcome you all once again to this course on inferential discrete mathematics. Today we will have an introduction to this fourth unit in this course. This course we have already completed 3 units, one on logic, one on relations and one on recurrence relations. This unit will be on groups. Groups may be a pretty new topic to most of you. It will be an extension of what we learned under sets, and we will start with the most basic of definitions shortly. In this unit we will learn about binary operations, what makes a set as a group, what subsets are called as subgroups, what are cyclic groups, what are cosets, what are normal subgroups, and what do we mean by homomorphisms and isomorphisms, and what groups are called as symmetric groups. So we will proceed and learn the first definition behind an algebraic structure. An algebraic structure is a non-empty set paired up with one or more n-ary operations. That is what you call as an algebraic system or an algebraic structure. This word n-ary here stands for an n-tuple. A 2 tuple is an ordered pair A comma B. A 3 tuple is A, B, C. An n tuple is A1, A2, etc. An. So any such operation which takes in either 2 operands or 3 operands or n operands is what is required for an algebraic structure. So a non-empty set together with such an operation is what we call as an algebraic system. Examples of this algebraic systems can be given as the set of all integers z along with the operation of addition. Now addition is binary, addition needs 2 operands to be executed, or set of all real numbers r with multiplication. Multiplication once again needs 2 operations to be completed, 2 operands to be completed, and the set of all natural numbers which begin with 1, 2, 3, precisely the set of all positive integers together with subtraction. These 3 can be quoted as examples of algebraic systems or algebraic structures. Further, we classify algebraic structures into 2 minor categories and a major category called as a group. The 2 minor categories begin with what we will refer to as semi groups. Now, as the name suggests, it is half of what can be called as a group. Now an algebraic system is called a semi group if number 1, the set must be closed under the operation star. What do we refer to as closed? The result of the operation, when we take 2 operands and complete the operation, the result of the operation should be contained within the same set. It cannot exist outside the set. Now if it goes outside the set is not said to be closed, and therefore it does not follow the closure property. So the first condition for an algebraic system to become a semi group is that it has to be closed under the binary operation. The second condition is that the binary operation that we define must be associative. Associative as in for 3 elements A, B, C belonging to the set, these 2 answers should be the same, which means I can pick whichever pair of operations to do first and then do the other pair. Both answers should be the same, only then we call it as a associative operation. When these 2 conditions are together satisfied by an algebraic system, we call it as a semi group. Semi group as in 1/2 of a group. We will quickly learn what the other 2 conditions are, but for now you can stick to these 2 conditions giving rise to the definition of a semi group. On your board, on your screens, I have given a couple of examples of what structures are semi groups and what structures are not semi groups. First up, let us take the set of all integers under addition. the sum of any two integers is always an integer. You take any two integers, be it positive or negative, you add them up, the result is again an integer. You can even take negative integers, you add them up, the result is again an integer. So the answer is contained in the set, the answer does not exist outside the set, and therefore the set is closed. So the set Z plus is closed under the operation. Further, the operation is also associative. You take three distinct elements. I am giving you examples, proofs can be given, but we will stick to examples. I can compute the answer either by the order given on the left side or the order given on the right side. I am still supposed to get the same answer. This is 5 and 5 giving me 10, and this is again 2 and 8 giving me 10. The answer is the same. I have not changed the order, but I have selected which two operands to operate first, but the answer has not changed. Therefore the operation of addition is associative, which makes Z plus a semi group. Similarly, R, the set of all real numbers under multiplication, is again a semi group. Real numbers will include positive integers, negative integers, 0, rational numbers, irrational numbers, which means like fractions, fractions which terminate, fractions which do not. All of them are grouped under the same roof as real numbers. I am considering all of them together and I am performing the operation of multiplication. Now the answer can exist outside the set only when I multiply two real numbers and get an imaginary number, say I, the iota symbol. But that's never going to happen. Whenever I pick two real numbers, the answer is also going to be real numbers when I find the product. Therefore this set is also closed under the operation of multiplication. What's more interesting is the operation is also associative. I pick three elements and I do the operation in whichever way I want. I'll still get the same answer. 2 times 12 is 24, 6 times 4 is also 24, which stands testimony to the fact that the operation is still associative. So the operation of multiplication is also associative, and that's what we saw here. So even R, the set of all real numbers, forms a semi group under the operation of ordinary multiplication. But interestingly, the set of all natural numbers does not form a semi group under the operation of subtraction. There are two reasons to this. One, the set will not be closed. Let me pick 1, 2, 3, etc., the set of all natural numbers, and let's pick any two numbers and subtract. Now what happens if I subtract 2 and 3? I get -1, which does not belong to the set. Therefore the set is not closed. Condition number 1 is violated. What's interesting to see is that condition number 2 is also violated. The operation of subtraction is not associative. I do these answers, the answers will differ. 2 minus of -2 is what I get on the left, and -1 -5 is what I get on the right. So one answer is +4 and the other answer is -6, and the answers are not the same. The operation of subtraction, and little later we will also discover that the operation of division is also not associative. Therefore n minus, the set of all natural numbers under subtraction, will not form a semi group. The next definition is an improvement on a semi group. An algebraic structure M star is said to be a monoid if, number 1, it is first of all a semi group, and number 2, there does exist a special element E belonging to the set such that any element paired up with this element is returned. Such an element, which is called the special element, if it's present in the given semi group, then we call it as a monoid. I'll explain you with an example. Let's consider Z plus, the set of all integers under addition. We've already seen that it is a semi group, so it satisfies the first condition. Further, we'll also see that it is a monoid because we have a special element called 0 which returns any element added with it. 5 plus 0 is 5, minus 9 plus 0 is minus 9. So, I operate any element and in any order 0 plus 12 is 0, 0 plus 12 is 12, I get back the required element. Therefore, this set Z contains the special element 0 and hence the set of all integers actually forms a monoid under addition. Similarly, the set of all real numbers, they have their own special element. Because we are doing the operation of multiplication, you can see that the special element here is 1. Any real number, say 2, multiplied with 1 is returned, and be it in any order. 1 times 2 is also 2. Take a fraction, take 0.5 times 1, that is 0.5 again, or 1 times 0.5, that is 0.5 again. I get the element back after operating it with this special element. This need not be common for all groups or semi groups that we are considering, but every semi group or a monoid or a group should have its own special element. If that happens to be so, then we call the semi group as a monoid. So, we saw what an algebraic system is, we saw the semi group which was an improvement on the algebraic system, and now the monoid which is again another improvement on the semi group. And one example for an algebraic system that is not a monoid is your set of all natural numbers under addition. When you consider the set of all natural numbers under addition, the set starts from 1, goes to 2, 3 and so on and so forth. Since we are operating with addition as the operator, the only special element that can exist is 0, but 0 unfortunately is not part of the set, it is not part of the set that we are considering, and therefore n plus is not a monoid. N plus is not a monoid, n plus is a semi group, it is closed. You take any positive integers, any two positive integers, the result will be contained in the set under addition, and you will also see that the operation of addition is associative, but what you will not find here is that special element E which is absent, and therefore n plus set of all natural numbers under addition is only a semi group but not a monoid. Now we come to the most important definition in the introduction to groups, the group itself. An algebraic structure G star comprising of a non-empty set G and a binary operation star is called a group if the following 4 conditions are satisfied by the set. You already know 3 of them, I will just run through them. Number 1, the set should be closed under the operation like we saw with integers and real numbers and natural numbers. Number 2, the operation involved must be associative. And number 3, there should exist a special element, say E, such that A star E and E star A is the same answer as in A. This special element is what we will call as the identity element. It is like the mirror, you look at the mirror, you see your own reflection, your image is returned to you, it is not distorted, it is not magnified, you see yourself. Now this mirror is your identity element. The last point, the last condition that separates a group from a monoid is that there should also exist a special element A dash for every element A such that the two elements when paired up will return the identity element. We will see more of it as an example to help you understand better. If all these 4 conditions are together satisfied by some algebraic system, we call it as a group. We call such an algebraic system as a group. To give you an example, let us consider the set of all integers under addition. We have already verified that it is a semi group, it is also a monoid. Now we will just have to show that it is a group. It is not very difficult to follow that. We will anyway verify all 4 conditions one by one. Number 1 says the set is closed. You add any 2 integers a plus b, the answer still belongs to integer, the set of integers. Therefore the set is closed, the first condition is satisfied. Number 2, the binary operation considered here is the addition, and we know that it is associative. I have given you already an example for why plus the operation is associative. So it is associative because we have already seen that it is a semi group. And number 3, there is the special element 0, which when added with any element returns that element back. A plus 0 and 0 plus a return the element a, and therefore the set of all integers also contains this special element 0, which means it has satisfied the third condition. Number 4, which is most special, is that for every element a belonging to z, there is an element minus a that belongs to z, such that a when added with minus a gives me back 0. Let us pick up any integer, say 6. If I pick 6, you can pick minus 6, the both of which when added return the answer 0. If I pick minus 12, you can pick its negative inverse, which is plus 12, both together will give us 0. This way any integer that is randomly selected can also be associated with its own inverse. The inverse element is always part of the set, it is not outside, it is inside the set, and therefore the set also contains the inverse element for every element in the group, and that is why the set of all integers forms a group under addition. If we can go back and want to verify these 4 conditions, the set is closed, the operation is associative, there is a special element say 0, and for every element there is an element a dash, which is minus a here, which returns the 0 when added with a. Therefore we see that the integers, set of all integers, forms a group under the operation of addition. The next one is a set of all real numbers under multiplication. This is pretty elementary. We have already seen that it is a monoid because the set is closed. The product of any 2 real numbers still belongs to the set. If a is real and b is real, the product cannot be imaginary. You cannot conjure an I out of nowhere. So a star b, a times b is still a real number. And I have already shown you why the operation is associative. You take 3 elements and multiply them in a particular order, the answer does not change. And we have seen that the set contains within itself the special element say 1, because 4 times 1 and 1 times 4 are both the same number 4. Minus 2.5 times 1 and 1 times minus 2.5 is still minus 2.5. Therefore you have the special element in 1. 1 is a real number and therefore it is contained in the set. Therefore the set actually also passes the identity elements existence property. But what is the problem we have here? Not all elements have inverses. An inverse is a number a dash such that the result should give us 1. For 4 it is 1 by 4, which gives us 1 back. For 3 by 7 it is 7 by 3, which gives us 1 back. But for 0 there is no element that will give you 1 back. 0 does not have a multiplicative inverse only because of this reason. And this is also the reason why we never divide both sides of the equation by 0. Division by 0 is prohibited because the inverse does not exist, and therefore it does not make sense to divide any number or any equation by the number 0. And since we have one element in the set which does not have an inverse, this algebraic structure does not form a group. It is a semi group, alright, it is a monoid, alright, but that is where the line stops. You cannot extend it to the next stage and call it as a group, because there is one element 0 which doesn't have an inverse. We have already seen why n plus cannot be a group. N plus is the set of all natural numbers under addition. This cannot be a group, and we saw it why this is, because number one, it's not a monoid. It doesn't have the 0, the special element with respect to the addition operation. Addition has its identity in 0, and 0 is not part of the set, which means it is not a monoid, it's not even a monoid. Leave alone the inverse property, even the monoid qualification is denied for this set, and therefore it cannot form a group. However, it is interesting to check whether elements will have their own inverses. It turns out to be that there is no element which has an inverse, because let's pick 4. 4 will have an inverse in some element that will give us 0 back. We don't have 0, that's a problem, but this number is supposed to be minus 4, because only when you add 4 and minus 4 do you get 0. So A dash is supposed to be minus 4, and since we are discussing only positive integers, minus 4 doesn't belong to the set of all natural numbers, and therefore this set fails to satisfy 2 of the 4 conditions to form a group. So it just stays with the conditions required for a semi group. You cannot enforce any more properties on that. The similar case is with the set of all natural numbers under multiplication. However, this time you will see that it is actually a monoid, because when you pick the set of all positive integers and you do the multiplicative operation, the result is not going to be negative or 0. You take any 2 positive integers, the result is positive, and the result is also an integer. Therefore, the set is closed. First condition is satisfied. Number 2, we have already seen that the operation of multiplication is associative, so you don't have to worry about that too. So it is actually a semi group. In addition, it is also a monoid, because the identity with the multiplication operation is 1, and 1 is pretty much part of the set. 1 is the first natural number that you can think of, which means the identity element is contained in the set, and hence it is a monoid. 3 of the 4 conditions are satisfied. That's where the buck stops, because when you talk about the inverse, only 1 will have its own inverse in 1 itself, but other than 1 you cannot even pinpoint another element which will have an inverse. Even in the previous example we had 4 having its inverse in 1 by 4, which was still part of the set, but here if you pick 3, its multiplicative inverse has got to be 1 by 3, which should give us 1 back, but 1 by 3 is not part of the set of all natural numbers, simply because 1 by 3 is not an integer. The set considers only positive integers as its elements. So the set of all natural numbers under multiplication is closed, has an associative operation, also has an identity element, and therefore it is a monoid, but nothing more. It cannot even think of becoming a group. However, when you consider the set of all real numbers and change the operation to addition, you can very well observe that it will form a group, because you are only adding 2 real numbers. Addition of 2 real numbers can never yield us an imaginary number. Therefore, A plus B will always be part of the set, and therefore the set is closed under addition. And we have already verified more than once to see that the operation addition is associative. You don't have to worry about that. Now 2 of the 4 conditions are met. The additive identity element happened to be 0, but 0 is still a real number. 0 is not positive, 0 is not negative, but 0 is still pretty much a real number, and this element belongs to the set of all real numbers. Therefore, the third condition about the existence of the identity element is also being met, by the set, and number 4 is about the additive inverse, and for any element A we can always find its additive inverse in minus A. Suppose I pick minus 2.5, its additive inverse will be plus 2.5 to return the identity element. If I pick 3 by 7, its identity inverse is minus 3 by 7 to return the identity element 0. So every element has its own additive inverse, no problems with including 0, and you have an associative operation, you have a closed set. All these put together lead us to the conclusion that the algebraic system is a group. Moving further, we can still construct a group out of the set of all real numbers and a multiplication. Only point is we'll have to remove the 0, because a few slides back we saw that the set of all real numbers is pretty much a monoid. It is closed, the operation is associative, it has the multiplicative identity. The only thing that was stopping us was not every element had an inverse, and the element 0 in particular had no inverse within the set. So what if we discard that element? What if we consider the entire set without the 0? That's what I am referring to here. Considering all non-zero real numbers, you will see that the set is closed, the operation is associative, there is the multiplicative identity 1. Remember, we are multiplying, and therefore my special element is 1, not 0. And for every non-zero real number, we always have the multiplicative inverse defined very clearly. A times 1 by A and 1 by A times A will always return the multiplicative identity 1, and therefore we can say for sure that set of all non-zero real numbers does form a group under the operation of multiplication. Moving further, we can also focus our minds on groups which are finite. It's not always that groups have to be infinite. I have given you like 4 or 5 examples now of sets that are infinite. That is not a necessary condition. You can even have groups with finite number of elements, and the first example for that is on your screens. The set of all elements 1, minus 1, I and minus I. Iota, the component of the complex number along with its minus I, forms a group under usual multiplication. This is pretty much hard to believe, which is why I have constructed all possible operations that can be performed across these 4 elements. I can multiply 1 with 1, or 1 with minus 1, or 1 with plus I, or 1 with minus I. I have got the answer here. Minus 1 with 1, minus 1 with minus 1, minus 1 with I, minus 1 is minus I, that is the second row. I with 1, I with minus 1, I with I with minus I. Minus I with 1, minus I with minus 1, minus I with plus I, and minus I with minus I. I have given you all possible operands that can be done on this set, and we see that the set is pretty much closed. There is no product which is outside the set. You do any two, you pick any 2 elements and multiply them, the answer always lies within this small set of 4 elements, which means the set is closed. So this sort of a clear-cut way to check the first condition for any finite group is done by constructing something called as a Cayley's table. So what does the Cayley's table do? It takes all elements that are part of the set and completes all possible operations that can be done with these elements and has them collected in the group. That is what you call as a Cayley's table, and once you construct a Cayley's table, you can easily find out whether the set satisfies the 3 of the 4 conditions, as we will see in the next slide. So this forms a group because the entries in the body of the table do belong to the set. Look at the table and look at the entries. The entries are contained in the set. They do not go outside the set. I don't get an answer which is 2 or 2i. I always get either a plus I or a minus I, a plus 1 or a minus 1. Therefore, the set is closed. and we have already established more than once saying that the operation of multiplication is in fact associative. You don't have to verify that. Condition number 2 is also met, and we saw that number 1 is the multiplicative identity for any set, and we see that the element 1 is part of the given set, and therefore the identity element is also contained in the set. And number 4, the most important property, the inverse also does exist, because for 1 it's 1 itself which gives back 1, for minus 1 it's minus 1 which gives back 1, for I it's minus I which gives back 1, for minus I it is plus I which gives back 1. So the inverse of the elements minus 1, plus I and minus I are minus 1, minus I and plus I respectively. Therefore every element of the group has its own inverse. We see that the set along with the operation meets all 4 conditions required for a group, and therefore we have a proper finite group with us. You can also let your imagination loose when you consider such a set. This is also a finite group where we take only 5 elements as part of the set, but the operation that we consider here is a little different. It's what you call as the addition modulo 5. What is the addition modulo 5? The operation is addition, but it is followed up with one more elementary operation. So addition modulo 5, A when I perform this operation on 2 elements, I find their sum first. If the total is less than 5, I return the answer as it is. I add 2 numbers, I look at the sum, I look at the total. If the answer is less than 5, I return the answer as it is. But if the answer is greater than or equal to 5, I divide that answer by 5 and return the remainder. Most of you who are aspiring to become an MCA graduate or a BCA graduate might have known what this operation stands for. It returns the remainder. So if a number is greater than or equal to 5, the operation returns the remainder after dividing the total by 5. If it's less than 5, the number itself is returned. Such an operation is called the addition modulo n, and in particular we are doing it with the element 5. To give you an example, let's pick up what happens when you add 4 and 4. 4 and 4 is actually 8. 4 and 4 is actually 8. But 8 is not less than 5, 8 is actually greater than 5. So what the operation does is it divides 8 by 5 and returns the remainder. What happens when you divide 8 by 5? 8 is 5 times 1 plus 3, the remainder is 3, and therefore 4 and 4 give you 3. Similarly 4 and 3 should give you 7, but 7 returns the remainder of 2 on division by 5. 4 and 2 give you a 6, 6 gives you a remainder of 1 while dividing by 5. 4 and 1 give you a 5, but 5 gives you a remainder of 0 when dividing by 5. This way, if the number is greater than 5, you divide the total by 5 and return the remainder, and that's the operation we are talking about. This way you can complete the Cayley's table for the given set, and you will obviously observe that the result of operating on any 2 elements of the set is also part of the same set. Therefore the set is in fact closed under the given operation. You can pick any random number. Let's say we pick 2 and 4. 2 and 4 should give us 6, but 6 is greater than 5, returning a remainder of 1. That is why this set has only 5 elements. It has elements 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4, because you pick any number and divide it by 5, the remainder can either be a 0 or a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or a 4. It cannot be anything more or anything less. That's the idea behind this group Z5 and the operation plus 5. Now we will see the justification that this system actually forms a group. Number 1, the system satisfies the closure property. You add any two elements and the result is always within the set. And number 2, addition, as in any addition it is associative, so the operation is associative. And since we are still doing only addition, the identity element here will only be 0, and 0 is always part of the set. 0 is included here and here, 0 is part of the set. And in terms of inverse, the inverse of A is 5 minus A, as in to find the inverse of 1 we will subtract 1 from 5. So we will get 4, 1 added with 4 gives me 0. The inverse of 2 is 5 minus 2, 2 added with 3 gives me 0. The inverse of 3 is 5 minus 3, 2 gives me 0. The inverse of 4 is 1 again, 4 plus 1 is 0. 0 is its own inverse, so you have it as it is, and that is what we have. So we have a perfect group which is finite in Z5 and plus 5. Z5 is in fact a group. Z5 is a group, we have justified that. Now you can also consider a different operation where we are doing multiplication modulo. Not just addition modulo, we can also do multiplication modulo. It is defined in the same way. A star 8 B is AB if the answer is less than 8, but if it is greater than 8 you return the remainder after dividing by 8. So that is the definition which is on your screens, and we are considering only 4 elements here. We are considering only 4 elements. We are only considering 4 elements, 1, 3, 5 and 7. So if you compute these answers, 1 and 1 is 1, so it is returned as it is. 1 and 3, 1 and 5, 1 and 7 all are the same. 3 and 1 is 3, no problems with that. 3 and 3 is 9, but 9 gives you a remainder of 1. 3 and 5 is 15, 15 gives a remainder of 7. 3 and 7 is 21, 21 gives a remainder of 5 when you divide the answer by 8. So 5 and 1 is 5 again, 5 and 3 is 15 which gives us 7, 5 and 5 is 25, but 25 is 24 plus 1, so the remainder is 1. 5 and 7 is 35, but 35 is 32 plus 3, so the remainder is 3. Similarly 7 and 3 is 21, 21 is 16 plus 5, so the answer is 5. 7 and 5 is 35, 35 is 3, 7 and 7 is 49, 49 is 48 plus 1. So this is the Cayley's table for this algebraic structure, and hereby you can verify that this structure satisfies all 4 conditions. Number 1, the set is closed, no element goes outside the set. Number 2, multiplication is associative, you do not have to check that. Number 3, there is the element 1 which is the multiplicative identity, and number 4, every element is its own inverse. 3 and 3 gives you 1, so 3 is the inverse of 3. 5 and 5 gives you 1, so 5 is the inverse of itself. 7 and 7 give you 1, so 7 is the inverse of itself. So we see that this set under the operation of multiplication modulo 8 forms a good example for a finite group. It is closed first up. You also see that the operation is associative. There is the element, the multiplicative identity in 1, and every element is its own inverse. So we see that this set along with this operation forms a nice little group for us to discuss. So with that we will wrap up this lesson on introduction to groups. We have had a look at what are algebraic systems, what are monoids, and what are semi-groups. We have also had an introduction to what we call actually as groups, and we have seen at least 5 examples of algebraic systems which are groups, and a couple of examples of algebraic systems which are not groups. In tomorrow's class we will understand the basic properties that can be identified with a group, and we will move ahead and learn what constitutes a subgroup of a given group G star. We will have a look at that in the next class. Thank you.